Hello everyone, it's Melody with designbymelody.com here to share a layout with you. I am going to speed this up a lot because this one took me quite a while to do. It is actually a grid style layout. These are 4 school photos. They're preschool, kindergarten, and first grade, and I've got them lined up to where the first line is preschool, the second line is kindergarten, and the bottom line is first grade, I believe. So the first thing I'm doing is I actually pull out my December Studio Calico main scrapbook kit, and I'm going through those papers just to see if there's anything that jumps out to me. Then I decide to go ahead and pull out my scraps and see what I can use of the scraps I have. So all of these papers that I'm laying off to the side, and this pile of papers I have in my hand, those are actually scraps from my scrap bin. I am just looking for certain colors to see if they, coordinate. I'm mainly going for grays, teals, or anything kind of along the greenish, bluish side. A few pops of navy, and then neutrals pretty much is what I'm going for. And you'll see this layout evolves quite a bit as we go along. I at first decided to map my photos on pattern paper, and I will go back and change that later, and you'll see that, like I said, you'll see it evolve as I go along. I chose to do a 1/4 of an inch mat, and then I decided to go back and do an 1/8 of an inch. I wanted there to be some sort of gap between each of the rows and around the outside of the layout as well. This is a great way, this is the first grid style I've ever actually done, but now looking back on it, this is a great way to use different scraps in your stash. And the only way I keep a piece of paper in my scrap bin is if I really like it or if it's a significant size. I pretty much don't keep anything much less than a 3x4 card unless it's just something I really like. Then I'll keep it to use it later on a layout. I do keep all the border strips that I cut off the bottom of pattern papers, but I keep those in a separate place. I have a Cropper Hopper folder that I keep those in with different larger pieces. Like there's some Simple Stories 6x12 pieces in there, and a couple other things in there. I'll show you that someday, I'm sure. But this is how I store my 3x4 cards. I have these little plastic bins that I put them in, and I paper clip them or rubber band them according to collection or set. So it's easy for me to be able to tell later once I use them where they came from, so I can put it in my supply list. Which, by the way, if you'd like to see a supply list for that, for this layout, please visit my blog at www.designbymelody.com. There will be a January month in review post showing this layout and other layouts that I completed in January, where I will put my supply list as well as links to this video and still shots of the layout. So I've kind of moved on a little bit from my scrap paper to see if there are any larger, die cuts or cards that I want to use. And this acetate is actually from the December Studio Calico main scrapbook kit. I'm going to use, you can barely see it on the screen here, but that white piece that's off to the right is actually a bag, like a glassine type bag that supplies came in from something else. So I'm going to staple this acetate to that. I did not want you to be able to see the adhesive, but I wanted you to be able to see the stars, and I wanted to add a little bit of an extra texture, not just paper, but there's this shiny piece of acetate on there. So that's what I'm going to use. I just use different pieces. Some of them are cut to be the same height as the photos, some of them are cut to be the same width, some are just cut and then added with other pieces to make the grid work. There was really no rhyme or reason to this, it was just whatever worked out visually to me. And I do end up, after I get the basis of all the papers down, I end up trying to go back and do a little bit more balancing of colors and spreading. There's red on the layout, so I go back and try to spread the red around a little bit. And then you're also going to see where I change the photo mats, and that's to kind of make it a little bit more cohesive instead of being so all over the place. At this point, nothing is glued down. I'm just working with different pieces. My goal is to eventually get through that whole scrapbook. It's got a ton of stuff in there. It's a huge box of scraps, but it's the only place I store my scraps. If it's a scrap, it goes in there or it goes in the trash can. All I had of this paper was just a border strip, so I cut it and then made a little like 1 inch by 1.5 inch square to fit in that spot, or rectangle, I guess, rather. Wanted a little bit more red up there, so this was actually one of the advertisement cards that came in the Studio Calico kit, but I like the red as well as the texture on the card. Now, I played around with the idea of, and you see these little labels that I've put around each photo. I was going to label the photos with the age or the grade, but I end up using the journaling card down here. This is a Technique Tuesday journaling card, so I end up using that to notate what photos are what. So I'll take these labels off eventually. They don't actually get glued down. Now I'm actually going back and adhering everything. You don't see me adhering it, but that's what I'm doing. Every time I take it off, it comes back with adhesive on it. So far of the kit, of the December kit, I think the only thing that's been used is that teal striped paper to the left on the middle and the red piece of that card that I cut off on top, as well as the acetate down here on the bottom right. Oh, and these labels, all of these white labels, they on the other side they have, you know, a colored border, but I didn't like the color. A lot of them are pink, so I just used the back side. And those are actually from the kit as well, but they don't make it exactly as they are onto the layout. I've decided I'm just keeping my kits together, and then as I scrapbook with them, I notate which layout came from that kit. And I will do a kit and review video for each Studio Calico or other company kit that I get. I'll put, you know, a picture of what came in the kit. I always do a kit reveal video, but I will put a picture of what came in the kit in my kit review video, as well as what layouts or cards or projects I created with that kit, and what was left of the kit. Now, I am not up to date on what I'm working on. I mean, it's February now, and I am still working with my December kit, and I just got an email saying my February kit should be here in the mail soon, but I just scrapbook as I can. I don't have specific time set aside for it, so this is just what works for me. And I'm sure eventually I'll actually subscribe to other kits or card kits or Project Life kits, but that's only going to make it even worse. So I just figure I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to go as I go and make it work for me. I watch a lot of different YouTube videos for inspiration. I watch a couple different people who have their own channels, but I also watch, you know, the 2P's channel, and I check out the different galleries to just see. I like to look at different things for inspiration. This is a clear box that actually some of Kaylin's toys came in, but I use it to store all my washi in on my washi tape in on my shelf. It's kind of a decorative element, as well as it's easy to see what's in there. Okay, now these stamps came from, I mean, they're like postage stamps. They came in the kit, and I was sure I was not going to use them, but they actually worked on this layout. They added just enough of a different element to add some texture. These letters also came in the kit, and they're kind of like an epoxy sort of letter, I guess. They came in a kind of a mint green and then this blue, but the blue worked perfectly with this kit. And I just created kind of a washi tape background behind that die cut, and that came in the kit, as well as these stars and these circles or these dots. And I did put different elements of the washi tape around the layout. I have it in 3 different places: under the BU at the top, right beside that postage stamp kind of in the middle at the bottom, and then on the right side at the bottom under the acetate, or on the acetate. This little black, looks like a chalkboard piece that I just placed down actually came on a clothespin in the kit, and I took that off to add that. Okay, now you can see this is a day later, I have changed all of the photo mats to be a navy blue, and that did come in the kit as well, I believe. But it just made it to where the photos were a little bit more, it wasn't so all over the place. It matched just a little bit more. These stamps did come in the December Studio Calico kit as well, and I'm using the numbers 1 through 8, I believe, to just line up at the bottom of this Technique Tuesday journaling card. I'm just going to stamp that with a little bit of, what did I use? This was the Tim Holtz Distressed ink in Puma Stone. I don't have a whole lot of journaling to go on to this layout, so it was a great way to kind of add a small border at the bottom. And then I also stamped it right under the word Jaheim up on the top right as well. These label stickers, I've had these for quite a while. These actually came in the Target, they're Target Craft label stickers. I have them in hearts as well as these banners and banners and labels, I guess. They came out of the dollar section at Target, and I bought a whole bunch when they were there, and I love them. They're actually pretty good to add small elements on. This little box you see is where I store all my die cuts. These are the ones that either come already previously cut out, like in an ephemera pack, or I have a lot of, what do you call those? Like L Studios little snippets. That's what I keep in here. And I do keep a little piece of paper that you don't see with it so I can reference later where it came from. This layout's looking a little busy to me, but that was kind of the purpose of it. And as I went along, I always kept it in the back of my mind. If I didn't like it, I could change it. I could totally take the photos off and start over. But in the end, I think I really ended up liking it. So it ends up staying. I have a couple of vellum speech bubbles here. I'm taking a look at all my stickers and labels to see if there's anything else that I think fits. The randomness of this layout is kind of purposeful, so it works. Or at least it works in my mind. Pulling out my brads and badges to see if there's any other circular elements that I can add. Just building up the different embellishment clusters. I have a few embellishment clusters on here, and then there's just a couple different things that are just a little bit more embellished, that way they're not just blank patterns of paper. Again, this is a little bit later. You see the lighting change. And I'm about to do my journaling here on the bottom. Now, I could have glued that piece down that says "You Make Me Happy," but because I had already added some staples to the bottom, I wanted to make sure I added staples somewhere else on the layout so they weren't just so random. It actually, you know, repeated a few times in the layout. So yeah, I have preschool top left, kindergarten middle row, and then I think it says first grade bottom row. I have just a few more finishing touches here, and then this layout will be done. I'm sorry I had to go so quickly, but there were a lot of things that were involved in this layout, so I wanted to make sure it got all in without being quite so boring. So thanks for joining me, and again, like I said, check out my blog at www.designbymelody.com for the monthly review post. All right, thanks for joining me, and I'll give you a couple more close-up shots of the layout. Bye!